texted you.
But I wasn't looking at my phone because this one wasn't the mayor's, the next one's in Rexburg. Bud just tells he's halfway there.
Yeah, he went to Danny's thing.
Yeah.
So we've got
Sorry, I apologize.
we've got two of the commissioners here today. We're kind of got a lot of things going on, and yeah, I texted Commissioner Walker a little bit ago and asked you to be here because it requires two of us to take care of anything.
Okay.
There's three commissioners in the county, and we have to have a quorum to take care of anything. I don't know if you know, Mark Hansen is our assessor.
Well, I know your name.
Or not our assessor, our treasurer.
Person.
So you want to go ahead and explain to us where you're at on this? We understand there were some late charges because we
Sure.
received the tax payment late.
Could I ask a question before
Sure.
I start? I was just wondering, I actually came here because I wanted to learn.
Okay.
So I appreciate the time that you're taking because I understand you sound very busy, but I am trying to understand things. And so I appreciate your time. And I was wondering if you could explain to me what your role is in this particular issue, because
Okay.
I don't really know that connection. So if you
Well,
could
in
start with
county government, the commissioners, there's three commissioners in the
Mhm.
county. And we're over the budgets for all of the other offices and departments in the county.
Okay.
So any money that comes in or goes out basically has to have commissioners' approval on it. The treasurer, you want to explain your
Yeah,
role,
sure.
collects the money.
So, yeah,
Yes.
essentially collect the property taxes,
Mhm.
have other responsibilities, but that's the main one. There, we don't set them, and it's a multi-step process. We establish budgets. The assessor's office values property, and then there's a mathematical formula for your taxes are calculated. And so I just collect the taxes, and then I turn them over once a month to the clerk, and she distributes it to the various taxing districts, schools, cities, etc. So in a nutshell, that's how it works.
Mhm. So even though this is, I'm sure you consider this is just a simple issue, it requires this kind of.
Well, okay, yeah, right. So there, it's set up so it's kind of a check and balance. They don't want the same person collecting the taxes waiving charges.
Exactly. that
Because
makes
there's
sense.
there's potential of abuse there.
Mhm.
So I collect them, but then the commissioners are the ones that approve any waiver of fees. So that's why I was reading. Seems a little cumbersome, but again, we're dealing with public money. It's not a private enterprise dealing with public money. And so we want to make sure everything's on the up and up and minimize any opportunity for abuse or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so that's.
And we're, as commissioners, I mean, it's not really, typically, it's not much of a discretionary thing. We're bound by statute
Mhm.
to collect the taxes for the county, write them to the different taxing districts. Counties collect all the taxes, and then we send it to the schools, to the cemetery districts, to all the different
The
districts.
library.
The library, get that
library.
right.
District, it's in the news right now. So that's kind of where
Fire district.
we're at. And Kayla Lawrence is our deputy county
Yeah.
clerk. So here to record the proceedings for us. Does that answer your
Yes,
question?
yes, I appreciate that. So,
So-
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, we're just, we understand that the payment was received late, which
Mhm.
just automatically, kicked in this fee, this
Mhm.
late fee. And then you asked to come
Yes.
meet with us about
Yes,
that.
I guess because just out of principle, I wanted to understand what was going on here. This is my parents' home. They've purchased it outright. They own it. And they are declining in years, and one has dementia. And anyway, I
Right.
take care of them, but they're in their own home. So I come and I bring them meals and things like that. So sometimes bills, get lost and
Yeah.
I have to find them. So I'm sure that's what one of these is. So it was as soon as I get the bills, I try to pay them, and I noticed that it was late. So I thought, oh, I'll just go ahead and pay the whole thing and maybe it'll be fine. And no, it wasn't. I got back that, that there's a interest on that, or whatever you want to call that, a penalty payment. And so I was just trying to understand that, because if the whole is due, by a certain time, it's broken up into two parts, I understand, but I did pay for them the entire thing before the second part was due. So I guess there must be some statute that
Well, yeah.
that
let me
says
explain
that we have,
So-
that it has to be done at that
Right,
particular.
yeah, technically, they're due in full December 20th. They're due
Okay.
in full. But the law provides, excuse me, if you pay half of it, then there's a grace period to pay the balance. That's all it is just a grace period. You can pay it any time between then and any amount, just so long as you finish it off by June 20th. And if you don't, because it's a grace period, then interest begins January 1,
Mhm.
because technically it's due in full December 20th.
Okay,
So that's why, so you didn't, like, some people think, well, I paid ahead. Well, no, you didn't. You
Okay.
just paid what was due at the time, so.
okay, I understand that.
Okay.
But, so in my mind, I take it to the extreme, like, okay, so a person owns their home, and I'm not of the opinion that we should tax people on their property. I mean, that's a personal thing that I feel like we should get it another way, but people have to have tax on their property. But are we looking at these people who own their homes, that if they can't pay their taxes, or if they have these late charges, eventually they can accrue to a point where they could lose their home? Is that reasonable
Well,
to see?
I mean, in
that?
theory, that's true. I've been here for 24 years. Not
Mhm.
once have we ever deeded a property that's somebody living in. So that's just never
Okay,
happened.
so what happens because
Well,
I'm sure
they
that this
pay.
situation, they do,
Well, yeah.
it eventually,
Yeah,
okay.
but there's so few people who really let it get to that point. I mean, if you own your own home, I guess, it's on your circumstance. We can't differentiate between people that own their home or how old they are. We don't keep that information. Say, this is their address, this is the value of their property, this is what the taxes are. So, it's just kind of, there's, the law would be discriminatory if it differentiated between someone who owned their home or someone that didn't.
Oh,
So-
yes, and I agree
So
with that.
there we go. And so, yeah, in fact, some years, we don't take any property. People in Bonneville County are pretty good about paying the property tax.
When you say, Mark, that we've never taken property somebody's living in, we have taken property that's been abandoned, right? Or-
Yeah, no, if
Okay.
it's been
And then they
abandoned,
refuse to pay
or
the
sometimes we have
taxes.
odd lots, there's a lot of different situations that come into play. So we've taken property. But to my knowledge, and I guess I could be wrong, but to my knowledge, we've never taken a property that's their primary residence that they're living in. You don't like say, all right, sorry, boot them out, we're taking your house. We just don't do that.
Yeah, but even taking property at all, that did belong to someone. If they had paid for it and it was theirs, then it really isn't theirs if they can't keep up on the taxes.
Well, that's a
correct?
philosophical discussion for probably another time and place. I mean, some people will say, well, we don't like property tax because of how it works. And some people say, well, it does have value. That's when Idaho was created as a state, then they determined that, okay, property tax is the method, the vehicle that they would use to fund counties and in part schools and cities. And there's various reasons, we can get into that
Yeah.
or not, but I mean, it is what it is. The government has to operate somehow or other, and we need money. So there's three different ways typically. You have income tax, sales tax, and property tax. And some states have all three, some have one or two. And so Idaho has all three. So it is kind of balanced in that respect. So I don't know if you want to really state an argument against property tax, then Boise is the place you need to go.
And it's a really good time to do that, because they're, oh
Yes.
my goodness,
They're
all
over the
fire
place.
about property
They are.
tax.
They are.
And
Well, and there's a bill that we learned about yesterday that is really gaining momentum that
which
could do away with the residential property tax.
for, in this instance, if
They're working
your
toward
parents
that.
have homeowners exemption
Mhm.
on this property,
Mhm.
so this bill would be pretty specific.
Any changes in the end.
But it's a legislative thing.
Yeah, it's a legislative thing.
They tell us way after.
Okay, so one more question. What do you do with then these penalty payments that you collect from people? What does that go towards? Because obviously that's not needed for the things that have been assigned for the, the property taxes coming in.
I would
What does
say,
that extra
I would
money
say
go to?
most of it is to pay for the additional cost of sending another notice out, holding the hearing like this, other paperwork that'll have to go through. The main purpose of it is just to pay for the administrative needs that are created because of a late payment. I mean,
So
that's
if
really
there
the
were a
purpose of
general
it.
fund like municipalities have,
Mhm.
then you'd say, well, it goes into the general fund. Systems are different with the counties, but that's the truth of it is, oftentimes people will come in with this and mom and dad won't have paid the taxes for a couple of years. And so there'll be back taxes and penalties and interest. And the problem is the taxes have already been spent.
Mhm.
The school district already had their budget and operated. The sheriff already paid his deputies we don't operate at a profit.
Mhm.
It's a very fine line that we're held to, and the penalties and interests cover the paperwork and the manpower to manage collections, because we don't hire a collection agency for anything, right? Yeah. Yeah.
And the interest and penalty is set by statute. Again, that's a thing right out of Boise that we're required to collect. And it's not a good interest rate. It's not a favorable interest rate.
No.
It didn't go down when the rest of them went down because it's the state and they don't go down. It's the state.
So was there any mistake made by the county
There
that
was no
caused this
mistake.
to be
No,
late?
no, there isn't. So
And
Unfortunately, there's really nothing we can
and
do.
of
if
course,
there's
I'm
not.
going to pay it, but I wanted to.
Well, we're glad you came in. I mean, really, you've
Really.
got good questions, and I understand your opposition to property taxes. I've been that way my whole life as well. And is why I have is because quite often I feel like property tax is a tax on debt.
Mhm.
That I have debt on my property, yet I'm being taxed on that whole value of that property. So that's always bothered me a little, but we live within the law.
like we had
right?
this
That's the
discussion
law
just
in
yesterday,
Idaho.
and I said, Wyoming has oil tax and coal tax. I mean, they make their money on the oil, and that's why they fund everything. So we really should be taxing barley and potatoes.
That's what we've got a lot of.
Well, not,
Yeah.
but in Idaho, it was cows,
Mhm.
and then it was crops, and we don't have a mining export that can generate the revenue to run the government. And so our job is to try and keep government as little as we can.
This new bill that they're running to replace the property tax is an increase in sales tax. They're talking about
So they're
increasing sales tax
shifting
up to
Just
80.
where
some
they're
of the
getting that,
property
but-
tax. to
Yeah,
sales
anything
tax.
is just a shift.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, you have so much money we need to collect, so
Mhm.
it takes
It's the
the one,
budget.
just adds to the other.
You could say maybe one is more fair than the other. though.
You could- you
could.
can.
And boy, that's a whole other
But
discussion,
that's-
because
yes.
people
Sales
in the
tax.
center think sales tax is great because people come from all over and they buy things here and then they leave. People with businesses on the borders say, well, it's not fair for us because all the people go across the border to buy stuff in Wyoming,
Yes.
where they
I can
don't have
see
to,
that. Mhm,
so. How do you
Sales
make it
tax
fair
is
for
a much
everybody?
broader tax.
mhm.
Your parents' home, there is a circuit breaker program in Idaho to help with people who are below a certain income level. I think they have to be either
Age,
widowed or
income.
veteran, correct?
Yeah,
Right, and the assessor's office could tell you about that. There's some qualifications, which I think this year they're gonna loosen up on. But that would help significantly with this.
So, yeah, if you
Minimum.
think they may qualify, I would call the assessor's office and ask
Circuit
for
breaker.
Circuit breaker.
That's a funny
switch
name.
in your electrical panel.
Okay. I'll
Just go
remember
tell them
that.
the switch rule.
But
And find out more about that.
if
for
if
them.
they would qualify, yeah,
Okay.
that could maybe help you.
That's one we pushed continually to get them to adjust for market values and
Mhm.
incomes, and they drag their heels.
Well, I'm glad that you're
And
keeping the people
Well,
in mind and. trying
well,
to-
that's honestly, it's not
Poor
because it's
people.
fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's- No, it's,
Yeah.
You
You're
pay
part of it.
taxes
Yes, you
too.
do.
yeah,
Mhm,
yeah,
You do.
So,
all of them.
sorry, we couldn't help you more.
It's
I hope we
okay,
answered all
I-
your questions.
I appreciate the time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. So, Mark, does she go to your office to
Yeah.
settle this so that we
Yeah.
can make sure there's no additional penalty or interest?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think it's just a light charge, yeah, so you can come over to our
Okay.
office.